Hello, beautiful souls. Today's episode is so good. And before we jump in, I have some exciting news to share. If you've ever wondered where you're blocking money, this is for you. I've created a free quiz to diagnose your money wounds so you can heal them and unblock yourself to receive more money. Just go to moneywoundsquiz.com and answer 6 quick questions to get your insanely accurate and potent result. And if you're loving my vibe and want to work one-on-one to call in more feminine energy wealth, I would love to hear from you. You can shoot me a DM on social media or go to emilywilcox.com to learn more. All right. So here's the deal. We are having a live conversation. So it will be recorded for the podcast. You can watch live on Facebook, but I am here with one of my biz besties, Nekole Eaton. And I've interviewed Nekole before for the podcast, but this time we wanted to have a more casual conversation about something that I think doesn't get talked about enough in our industry, which is really like the role of our partners, our spouses in our business and in our lives, and just like how integral that is to us being who we are and doing what we do. So Nekole, thanks for having this conversation with me.
Absolutely. The timing is perfectly aligned. I'm so excited to be here and just chat.
Yeah. And I just want to share the context of this a little bit too, because you and I are in a mastermind together. And what we both kind of noticed through the help of our coach is that the way that people perceive us on our social media and through our businesses is in such a way that there's maybe a natural assumption that like we are the superstar of our lives in all the ways. And we are. Like, I will own that. I do feel like a freaking superstar. However, yes. It can sometimes be perceived in a way that like diminishes the role of our husbands. And you and I have like freaking amazing husbands.
Yes.
That, you know, often we talk about like the woman who's doing it all, like you're running a business, you're raising your kids, you're doing this. And I feel like we both have the kind of husbands where it's like, you could say the same thing. Like, how Easily. The heck do you do it all?
Yeah. I mean, this is exactly it. We'll keep it PG, but we have like a little nickname for Mike. We call him the mother effing dragon slayer because he really does. It's like, whether it's in the home, outside of the home, the kids, the cooking, that like he can do it all. And it's in the day-to-day, sometimes we forget how special that is, you know?
Yeah.
I think of the line that Melanie, our mentor, often says, like, you want to normalize this, but not desensitize it. And there's such beauty in that, where it's like, we can be partnered with our equal, a rock star who can do it all and is behind the scenes supporting everything, keeping everything together, but just really remembering that like, it's special. You know, it's really, really special. And I kind of moved through my waves with that, as you know, in the mastermind recently, where it was like coming back to, holy crap, I have a gym of a partner. And without him, this road would look so different. And I'm certain it would take me so much longer to be where I am today, because he's held so much space for us and me in terms of being able to invest my profits from my business back into me, my growth, my development, my business, growing my team. And so just so much gratitude for these men. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, I think in our industry, often there is a stereotype of like kind of a house husband who is, you know, maybe not earning the money, but is playing a support role, right, with the household and helping us feel like queens and that kind of thing. And I love that. I think it's a really cool, like, redefinition. And so I think it's really important that anyone listening to this doesn't feel like there's a right way or a wrong way. But I think the thing that is a little bit more unique in our marriages is that our husbands are playing a significant role financially.
Yes.
And also doing a lot with the kids. And also, like, Jeff cooks most of our dinners. I would say like 90%.
Mike cooks all of our meals. Without him, I don't know. We'd all be out buying things constantly. So yeah. And like you said, holds us financially. Like without him, this whole thing looks completely different. And so
right now in this current season, Mike is taking care of all of the household expenses. And then what your business brings in is being reinvested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly. And like I just said, it's incredible when we peel this back and we look at that, like a man who is willing, because there are partners who are like, yeah, I could do this and that, but it is a lot. It's a lot to do and hold. And so just honoring them for that, because it's been a path. I mean, I've been at this now for 3 years, a little over 3 years, headed in 4 years. And just, he's seen me through every stage. And not only just like, yes, I'll support you in this because I know it's important to you, but then like going above and beyond. And I want to showcase how I see you in your power, setting up this incredible photo shoot, everything. So while it may not be something that's typical or normal, like you said, especially in this industry, I think it deserves, as you said, the conversation and just to be celebrated, because we've had the conversation of like, Mike's like, I don't think people know, what it is I do. And he's like, and that's fine. And he's like, but I also feel like that could be reflected in our dynamic. And so what does it look like to have this conversation and not just celebrate them in the home, but celebrate them and talk about this and normalize this with our peers? Yeah.
And like, it feels so good for me to be like recording this as a podcast as well, because one of the things that Jeff volunteered and wanted to do when I launched my podcast is he was like, I'll listen to the raw versions and I'll pick out like the quotes that'll be like the teaser trailers and I'll write the show notes. Like he really wanted to be a part of it. And it was like this really special thing. And there was like once or twice where there was something that I said in a podcast where I was talking about how I felt and like my experience in our marriage at certain points where I was the steady like income provider while he was doing entrepreneurial stuff and like building things towards our future. But like he came back to me and he was like, is that really how you felt? Like it, and his receiving of that was like that I really diminished his role. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, and it was obviously like, that was not the intent. And it was my truth at the time, which was like, I really felt like I was the one making sure we were okay financially. Now I know that a lot of that was like my own wounding around like not feeling safe if I wasn't in control with money. And so then I also like really typecasted him as being sort of irresponsible with money. And so I think part of like the really cool healing that's happened in our marriage is that in order for me to do what I'm doing in building my coaching business, it meant that another business that Jeff and I have, where I was the CEO and I was in control and I was making all of the decisions, like I really asked if he would be willing to step up and lead that company. And he has. And so like, he is holding us financially in that way. And also it's really giving me so much evidence to repattern my old way of looking at things, which is like, I'm the responsible one. I'm the safe one. He's loose with money. He does whatever. And it's like, okay, well, is that actually true?
Right.
Or am I willing to look at it from a different way and really see the ways that he's providing so much safety for our family while I'm the one doing the quote irresponsible thing, right? Like investing a F ton of money to be in a mastermind before my business was making that amount of money.
Right. No, I think that's beautiful. A full circle moment, right? Where you get to switch roles and then lean into the trust, right? Because now you're just created so much evidence that like we are safe. Money is still coming in. We have a roof over our head. We have meals. Like he's holding it down. He still like it works. It gets to work, and you get to lean into your feminine and build something incredible that wasn't on your radar. What, a few years ago, a couple of years ago? Yeah. So it is beautiful. I love that so much. And we had the conversation around this with the surprise that Mike had put on from you guys. This man, he went to great lengths to just create this incredible experience with a celebrity photographer. And the night before, he had planned this whole spa experience with me and a really great friend. And then after the spa day, I get surprised at the penthouse suite in the Ojai Valley Inn, which is this incredible resort. And I remember I came in to celebrate inside of the mastermind, and I was like, you guys, this is incredible. I love this so much. It's the most romantic gesture. I can't even believe it. And also there's a part of me that's like, how much money did we spend on this? And there was this contraction, like, I know he's got this, like he's held us through all of this. And also like, ooh, that feels like a lot. And Emily and I were having the conversation of like, do we trust them? Like Mike said to me, he's like, are we doing this or aren't we doing this? Are you the wealthy woman? Are we embodying this? Is this your next level? Let's go. And Emily, I'll let you just say like how that expanded you too. But for me, it was just that like, we get to have these moments that are like, ooh, so expansive, and still feel safe in them running, the financial aspect and holding down the home and just remembering again that the roof is over the head, the meals are coming, we're still growing, money finds us. We get to just really bask in the growth and the evolution of our business, of our relationship. So
yeah, that it was totally an expander for me. And like, even as you're sharing it, I can still feel resistance in my body. Like this is still a growth edge for me, because our pattern, Jeff and I's pattern in the past was like, he was the gas and I was the brakes. And so there's a part of me that still feels scared, where it's like, well, if I'm not the brakes and we're both the gas, do we just drive off a cliff?
Yeah.
And it feels great for a little bit until we realize, oh, there's no land below us. And then we free fall. Like there is a part of me that still feels scared with that. And I think like for women, this is a difficult part of like leaning back into the feminine and trusting and surrendering, because it's like, we want it. Like we want our men to plan these romantic gestures.
Exactly.
And yet like part of the reason that they don't, or they haven't, is because they pick up on our vibe of like the criticism or the judgment or the worry. And it's like, if we can't really be in our full receiving of it, which I know that I'm so guilty of, then it's like, it doesn't really feel good for them to give it.
What's the point, right? If we're going to micromanage how they do it, then what's the point of them doing it? Yeah. And I think that was a beautiful, and I'm glad that we're talking about this even more, because the lesson continues to unfold in that, where it's like, we have this conversation. I'm like, yeah, I could still sense that. Like, how can I lean back even more next time something like this comes up, and full body trust it, because that's a very beautiful point.
Yeah. So I would love for us to just like riff on and share some of the awesome things that our husbands do. The way that I experience it is that it's so many of like the little things that really add up. Like you and I were together on Sunday and we were gone most of the day, and maybe a little longer than we had expected. And so I had an hour and a half drive home. And during that drive, I was like, oh, I'm going to be getting back late on Sunday. And normally on Sundays, like Jeff and I will meal plan for the week, and we'll order the groceries. And it's like, it's often a shared thing. And sometimes one of us will do it, or sometimes the other does, but it's not one of those clear things where like one of us, it's one person's responsibility.
Yeah.
And then while I was driving, I start seeing these little text notifications pop up, and I realize that it's our Instacart. And so I already knew that meant that Jeff had already meal planned for the whole week, and that he had ordered the groceries for it. And it was like, there weren't any words spoken. He just knew that it needed to be done, and he did it without any resentment of like, oh, well, you were just gone all day having a bougie lunch with your friends, and I was stuck at home with the kids and meal planning for the week. And oh, by the way, cooking dinner for tonight. Like it just honestly, like, it blows me away that there isn't any resentment there, and that he really just views it as like part of the ways that he can support the household and like be a great dad and a great husband.
Yeah. I so honor, the men who just step up and do it, and there's no story about it. It's just like, yeah, this is what I do. I am a great dad. I am a great husband, And it's funny because yes, we were together on Sunday, and similarly, something was playing out like that in our house where I live about an hour away from where we were meeting. Emily, you were further this time. And so Mike had just planned, let me take the kids on a nice little hike. We'll get outside. Naya takes a midday nap. She'll be like nice and calm. She goes down. He hung out at the house with Kai, and then Naya wakes up and he packs them all up and he goes to the grocery store because Sundays typically we do grocery shopping, took both kids into Whole Foods, did the whole bit. And then, while I'm out having this great time, he's cooking a meal for all of us. And I remember because we ended up having a really late lunch, and I was like, oh, I got to get back. I really want he's cooking this really nice meal, blah, blah, blah. And I pull up into the garage and it's just like, hey babe, like, welcome back. Did you have a good time? Like the plates were out, and it's just like, oh my gosh, oh my freaking gosh.
Yeah.
It's one of those moments. And it's been a minute since I've really been out that like I've had a couple of outings, but with Naya being an infant, I've really been at home a lot. It's a new experience for us because instead of one kid, now we have two kids, and it's like, I'm getting back in the groove of being out with my girlfriends and socializing. And it's like, how is this all going to go? Like, do I need to hold my breath? I come back in, the kids, how have they been? Like, is this going to affect the rest of the evening? And just to see what he's capable of holding and doing, it's honestly super inspiring.
Yeah.
And it makes me say like, and this was like the lesson that we've moved through lately. It's like, what can I do like once a day? Just something small to show my gratitude and my appreciation, because it really is special. It really, really is. And I want him to feel that. And he hasn't always felt that from me, like I have allowed it to become a desensitized thing at times. And that's created friction. And so coming back to like, how can I show this gratitude and this appreciation for this like amazing man that I have in my life and this incredible father. So that's the practice. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And like, when you're talking about what Mike's day was and what Jeff's day looked like on Sunday, like, I also just want to give the context that like, our kids collectively are not at easy ages.
No.
Like, you don't know what you're going to get. And it could be like kind of a shit show of an afternoon where, like JJ just sometimes decides that like his only volume is yelling, and like he's just going to be trying to pick a fight with his sister the whole time that will end in like the two of them biting each other. And, so like when you're talking about Mike, like going to the grocery store with both kids and then cooking a nice meal, I mean, there are days when like for me as a mother, like just those two activities would be enough to take my cup down to zero. Like the cup is empty. I have no compassion or sympathy for anyone or anything.
1,000%. And if I'm being honest, like if I have to go grocery shopping, which honestly is rare, like this is how amazing my husband is. I'm like, I'm not taking the kids. I'm not doing it, And so like, not to interrupt that train of thought, but just the consideration, because he knows it's like a year of Naya and the nursing and the waking up. And he understands like, okay, mom just needs a moment of quiet. Like I'm connected to this girl at almost all times. And so just the willingness of like, I get it. Let me take them. Let me give you your sacred space it's everything.
Well, and I really believe that like part of the natural return of the appreciation for Mike is intrinsically tied to you going out and socializing and filling your cup. Because I think like when you are a little bit in survival mode, it's it's more difficult to like zoom out and appreciate, you know, these other people in your lives. But like, you know, when you grow out with a group of women and a group of other mothers, there will be talk about the husbands and what the husbands do or don't do.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience of that has always been that I return with like greater appreciation for Jeff, because like, not that there's an actual comparison game happening, but it's like, when I hear some of the ways that the division of labor shakes out in other households, and I compare it to my own household, inevitably it's like, I'm so lucky.
Yes.
Like Jeff is like such a freaking rock star.
Yes.
In all of these areas. And like, I think one of the things that's really special about our relationship is that like, it truly does feel like a team. It does not feel like a keeping of score. It's more like, how can we help each other? How can we help the family unit? And just a recognizing of, we both know what needs to get done on a weekly basis or a daily basis, and just working together to make sure that like we both are happy with it.
I that is the key. And honestly, I feel like Mike and I are like evolving into a next layer of it, because if I'm being like completely frank, when I look back at like the last year, I definitely feel like I was in more of like an observer role, you know, like I'm running the business. I've got the baby. We're managing school with Kai. He's in, he's out. And it was so much happening. And again, just with like Mike's ability to do things, like I let myself kind of fall back from the team thing, and really moving through this past month together, and the conversations we've had have really opened my eyes to like, where do I get to go? Like, you know, now that I'm like emerging from this infant stage and I'm really like stepping into a whole new level of power, it's like, how can I contribute even more as a team member? Because really that is so the key. It's like, it's not the keeping of scores. It's not, I did this and I did this. And I mean, all that builds is resentment, you know, and a tearing of the foundation that you guys built. But really like, here's our vision, here's our goals. Like, these are our life goals. Like, how do we contribute together? We're both forces in this world. We're better together than we are apart. So let's put our superpowers together. What do you need? How can I support you? Like, that's just the energy. That's the vibe, you know, and everybody wins. And having kids witness that is such a beautiful gift. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I'm really happy with the way that we're modeling it for our kids.
Yeah.
It feels super special.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was kind of thinking about like, why don't I publicly praise Jeff more? And if I'm being completely honest, I do think that there is a part of me that wants to take credit for all of the good stuff that's happening in our lives.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like, it's not in a way of like that Jeff didn't do it.
Right.
Because I know that he did, but it's like, I think I am happier in the spotlight than he is. And so it feels a little icky to say that out loud, but I want to keep it real.
Yeah.
And, you know, that maybe this is like part of a growth edge for me, in the same way that like I would share about the mentors that I'm working with and how important that's been in my journey. And it's like, when I think about that, it doesn't take away from what I've accomplished. It's like an augmentation.
Yes.
So like, why am I not like shouting Jeff from the rooftops?
I love this, because now you have like me thinking, and I'd say that I've been operating in a similar pattern too, but I honestly think the root of it for me was like learning to stand in my power and own the things that I have done, because for so long it was like, no, it's nothing. It's, you know what I mean? And really always giving that power away. And so along the journey, learning to stand it and be like, yes, I did this, and own it fully. You're like, you forget that. And also, you know, it's just like, yeah, I did, you know, and it's great, you know? And so, but these things come in cycles, and it's a beautiful lesson and remembrance, because it fortifies that foundation, you know, and how special is it that we get to have this conversation and the men get to listen to this back and just feel our deep gratitude. And again, we're better together than we are apart, and everything that we've created together, you know, together. Yes. So.
Yeah, exactly. Like any masterpiece is not a solo effort, you know, and you look at all the Academy Awards speeches and everything, and it's like, and it takes a whole freaking team, because if the script is bad, guess what? The actress isn't going to win.
Exactly.
It's like, you know, without the agent, without the director, without like everything, and the spouse and the nanny and like all of the pieces of their lives that have to come together.
Yep.
And then I think the other thing for me that has created maybe a little bit of subconscious resistance for talking about this is that on social media in particular, like when we talk about our marriages, it ends up looking like a highlight reel. Like it's the once a year anniversary post or posting on their birthday, or like when they do some incredible big surprise and then nothing in between. And it's like, it should go without saying, like Jeff and I are about to celebrate our 12-year anniversary. Like, of course it hasn't all been magical and amazing, but I do think that that's a little piece of resistance for me. So I wonder if like, maybe we can talk about, you know, just also some of the challenges, even in really good marriages.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's actually funny you mentioned that, because, you know, in parenting, Mike and I are actually doing a collaboration together this month, just about our path, like honoring our relationship as partners in parenting, you know, and the challenges and the struggles that we've moved through as a couple, as partners in parenting, right? Because it looks different. Pre-kids, it's like, oh, cool, it's just us. You have no idea, you know, and then it's like figuring out, well, who's going to take this on and how am I going to support you here? And I had this expectation that you would do this and it fell short and I'm feeling like this. And there's a whole new chapter or a whole new book on like how to be together in parenting, let alone just together in your relationship. And so many ups and downs in that. But I agree. It's like these conversations would serve so many people to just talk about the ride, the journey, and not just the peaks, you know. The valleys hold a lot of codes and information and breakthroughs for us if we're willing and courageous enough to have these conversations.
Yeah, for Jeff and I, like one of the things that's kind of come up recently is just this idea of like how much we've changed as individuals. So again, like married 12 years, you know, I think we were together 2 or 3 years before that. So, you know, we're talking about like a decade and a half here. And we've both changed in really good ways. And honestly, sometimes I'm in shock and awe that like our growth and evolution has stayed in a parallel path, because it's like pretty astounding. And it's like one of the things that has recently scared me is really like tapping into where I feel and I know my life is going, and then feeling scared that maybe Jeff wouldn't be on the journey the whole time. And then I brought it up to him and he was like, yeah, I'd be lying if I said I haven't thought about that. And I was like, wait, what? Like the moment it popped into my head, I was like so scared about it and was like, okay, we need to talk about this.
My God, he's like, glad you mentioned it, actually.
I'm like, can we just have an agreement that like, if our mind is ever going to the place where there's a scenario that does not involve us being married to each other, that like we have a conversation around that.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels like a growth edge for me to even like bring this up and share it, because it feels like so vulnerable and tender. And it didn't come out of a place of like huge conflict. You know, it's like it came more out of a place of like, there's this big vision and like really appreciating the bigness of the journey.
Yes.
And like feeling like, okay, is this what Jeff signed up for? Like, are we still going to be a match at the end of this thing?
Yeah.
And what if we aren't? Like, could I handle that? Or would I want to dim down my vision in order to make sure that the marriage is good? And
that is scary. That is incredibly scary. And I actually feel like this conversation, I've seen posts around this in our industry, especially when you have relationships or dynamics where it is like the woman's bringing in everything financially, doing everything. And then it's like, there becomes this gap. Right. And in my time being in this industry, I've seen marriages that have been like, okay, here's the point, here's the inflection point where someone didn't sign up for that. They weren't on board for this. I mean, it sounds like you and Jeff have been together forever too. Like Mike and I was 20, he was 19. In moments where it's like, holy moly, like, are we sustaining the growth of this? I think like, if we made it past age 20 and 19, like literally I was working at TGI Fridays. Mike was at a tanning salon. They laid him off because they were closing the shop. I was bringing home $20.
You got laid off from a tanning salon.
Yeah, I got laid off from the tanning salon. I'm bringing home $20 in tips. Like that was it. And it was like, okay, we're going to Ralph's. We're going to go and get the lean cuisines. It's 10 for $10 and we can get a gallon of milk. Okay, sweet deal. Like this was our beginnings. And I think like with no emotional intelligence, no like healing of past traumas. And when I look at that time in our life and our ability to make it through that shitstorm, I'm like, with all the tools and resources that we've gathered along the way, like we've got this. So long as it's a desire, like we've got this. And I'd imagine the same is true for you and Jeff. Like you've made it through babies, you've made it through building a freaking 7-figure empire, switching roles, hiring a whole team. I know it's not seamless, this transition with you coming into the coaching industry, but like here you are and you're thriving. And it's like, as long as you guys both desire it, you're good. You got this,
Yeah. No, and thank you for that. And it's so true. It's like, I definitely feel like the bigger challenges are in the rear view mirror. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the gifts of my mind going to that scary place is that makes me emotional to think about it. But it's like, if we don't have our husbands and like, we don't have a happy family, it's like,
what's the point?
Yeah. None of it matters.
Yeah, none of
it matters. None of it matters.
That's a beautiful reset button,
Yeah.
And then when you ask the question about like, to give credit and the tendency to want to stand in the spotlight and say all of this. And when you say what you just said, and it's like, these are our people. This is what life is about. This is why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
Then gosh, it really grounds us into like everything else is just, it's extra, it's,
yes, it truly is.
Yeah.
And I think, we get to see that too, like in the circles that we're in, where there are women who seemingly have it all and they're working on manifesting their soulmate partner.
Yes.
They desperately want a family.
Yes.
And it's we take for granted having it. And it's like, if we didn't have it, that would be like the thing on our vision board, like our heart's desire.
1,000%. And that has always been, ever since I was young, before I met Mike, it was like, I want to meet the love of my life when I am young. It was never about being a billionaire as the vision came later or anything. It was like, I know my soul's desire is to have this incredible connection with my partner where we experience life together, the ups, the downs, and we just so happen to be blessed to be able to bring 2 kiddos along for the ride. And they teach us just as much, if not more. And it's like gratitude every single day for this. This is it. This is the legacy. Yes. This is the beauty. These are the moments. And then everything else is play. And we forget that. We get to play together,
Yes.
Yeah. So grateful.
Yeah. And it's, what I'm realizing through this conversation too, is that I think because we did both meet our partners young, like I was 21 and I was just coming out of another relationship. So I wasn't actually even looking for anything. And it's like, I've never had a period in my life where I felt like my biological clock was ticking and I didn't have my person, or I've never online dated. Like I did not have to go through those experiences of wanting it and not knowing how to find it.
Yes.
And therefore, it is easy to take for granted that piece of things.
Yes. Similar. Yeah. I had come out of a long-term relationship too and met Mike probably 7 months later. And I was not looking, but it was like, when and so to grow up together, as you said, and to not have to want for anything, in that department, like this was just a person who came in life so early. It's the greatest gift.
And with our babies, like not having any, significant hurdles as far as conceiving.
Yes.
Like that's another huge one. I think we all know at least someone in our lives that wants a baby more than anything in the world.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not happening.
Yes. And honestly, like the whole experience of becoming a mother obviously profoundly changed me, and it's my work now because the gift of being a mother and the gift of having children is, it's a topic for another day because I could go on for hours, but it's just anchoring in the gratitude for life and the people who make life so beautiful, so bright, and even like our friendship and our connection. It's like, oh God, this matters. Our relationships matters more than anything else. And, it feels good. I feel like this should be like a thing, Emily. I think you're onto something. I feel like every so often there should just be like a gratitude session where we come in, we celebrate what we have, what we've worked through, the lessons that have come from the difficulties, and just seeing each other in our human experiences. And
I think so too. Like it's conjuring up so much gratitude for what's already there, which is amazing. And we're not the easiest women to be married to.
No.
And so I think sometimes it's like our spouses almost get typecast in a way of like the more submissive, like personality, or just the more like go with the flow or whatever in the relationship. And maybe they are like the more relaxed one. I think that certainly can be the case. But like what I want to acknowledge is that it actually takes a really strong man to be with a strong woman.
I feel like you need to say that one more time.
Yes. It takes an extraordinarily strong man.
Yes.
To be with a strong woman. And that strength does not have to look like I'm the provider, or I lay down the law, or I'm the disciplinarian. Like the ways that we were sort of conditioned to believe strong men looked.
Yes.
It's like the strength to just be the grounding force and the stability in the household.
Yes.
The strength to be the one carrying a lot of the financial load and just doing it because it's what needs to be done, and that there's joy in providing for the family. Like no one's getting pats on the back every single month for paying the mortgage.
Yeah. No cookies are built up. Yes.
Right. But if it wasn't getting paid, it'd be a 5-alarm fire.
Exactly. No, I love that. It's the quiet confidence of the strong men that we have, and not needing to be in the spotlight.
Yeah.
And happily supporting us in the spotlight.
Yeah.
What a beautiful combination with any of us. I feel like in the hypermind, our nature and our tenacity and our vision and our boldness, like it would take a strong man for any one of us. But I look at me and I'm like, oh my God, like, especially at the age of 20 and 19, when we were kids, like to find someone who could hold all of this at such a young age and rock with you through the ups and downs of life. Like, I feel like we need to make an award for these men, you know, like how many years it's been. We've been together for, it'll be 14 years in March, married for 9 this year. And it's just like, bravo freaking oh,
Yes.
like, I applaud you.
Yes.
Yeah, it isn't easy. It isn't easy.
Yeah. I know. I just laugh at, you know, we had no idea what we were signing up for. And it's like, do you ever, when you're getting married, like, you're saying yes to a life with someone without having any idea of what that life's going to look like and who that someone is going to evolve into. And I'm just like, so grateful that Jeff and I's evolution has unfolded in like such a beautiful way, where it's like, we continue to, you know, just so appreciate, like Melanie talks about the idea of movies, right? And it's like, we're the starring role in our own movie. And they're the starring role in theirs, but like we're the co-star. And the fact that like year after year, we still want to be in the same cast with each other in these co-starring roles. As the vision gets bigger, like that it's at the heart of it, it's still like the two of us.
Yeah. It's a gift. To be chosen again and again. And I think that's the thing. It's like, yeah, we said I do in the ceremony, but it is a choice every day to be in relationship with your partner, to evolve together, to become more together, to solidify the foundation that you've built together. It's a choice. And so just the gratitude of like having the opportunity to choose our partner again and them receiving that and choosing us. Day after day after day, when the clouds are dark and gray and it's rainy and it's stormy, they still look at you and they're like, I love you and I still choose you, even if you drive me nuts sometimes, you know, it's,
I know, it's so special. So I guess what I would love to invite people into, so anyone who's listening to this, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's on the Facebook Live, whether you're watching it on YouTube, like, if you're feeling inspired by this, I really would challenge you to write something up about your spouse or your partner and the ways that they support you in your life, support you in your business, how important their role is. You can tag Nekole and I, and we would love to see that and help celebrate it. I just think it would be really cool in our industry to see so many more of these types of posts and just an acknowledgement of, you know, there are women doing it on their own, and that is so incredible. And there are so many of us that have this incredible person behind the scenes that's making so much of the vision happen. I'll be the first one to be clapping on those posts.
Yes. I'm with you. Please tag me too, because as you said, Emily, it's time to normalize these conversations and give our partners the gratitude, the appreciation, and their little mini spotlight, because they deserve to be seen. Yes.
Well, I'm excited for the day when we get Jeff and Mike together in a room.
And I have to say this. I actually think, because that table, I don't think Mike's seen the table that Jeff made, but it is Mike's dream to have a table like this. So they've got a craft. They get to talk about these. I can already see it. It's going to be reflections.
They can talk woodworking. They can talk about being married to us, crazy bitches, and surviving it all.
Exactly.
So, Jeff, Mike, we love you. We're so grateful for you.
Thank you for choosing us.
Thank you for choosing us.
Yes.
we choose you again and again and again and again and again.
Every day, all day. Yeah.
Every day, all day. All right. Let's wrap it up. Yes. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's show. Changing the way we think, feel, and talk about money will change the world. I truly believe that. It starts with you tuning in, and it spreads when you share this show on Instagram and Facebook and tag me at mmakesmoney. And you know what moves the needle the most? Taking just a minute to leave a 5-star review on iTunes. This show isn't free to produce, so let's multiply those dollars invested to help this show reach a bigger audience each week. Thank you so much for your help. I really appreciate it. And lastly, if you want more connection, more M Makes Money style riffs, and a safe place on the internet to talk about money, jump into my free Facebook group, The Money Club. It's linked in the show notes. Until next time, I'm wishing you health, happiness, and boatloads of money.